Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Papa Boris, and in this video, I'm gonna start a new playthrough of a new game. This game is called Battleheart Legacy. Now, this is a kind of new game. It was released for Steam in November 2019, which, if you're currently watching this in real time, was about a month ago. So it's actually pretty new for most games I play, and it's currently on sale on Steam. Normally the price is like $5 and it's on sale for like a couple of bucks off, so it's very cheap and it's a quick game. It's really fun. I know a lot of people are prejudiced against ports of mobile games, which is what this is, but I just really find it enjoyable. In particular, I like the character development system in this game. It manages to be original while also feeling familiar, and I think that's awesome. So anyway, let's go ahead and play as a lady and see who we want to be here. Wow, this person just seems like tired of the world. All right, go ahead and do that one, and we'll name her Drowseria, because that lady looks incredibly fatigued. Okay, so there's a little bit of a tutorial in this game, which I'm not going to worry about because you have me as your tutorial. One thing I kind of like is, although this game is, as you can see, very mobile-y looking, it's actually kind of interesting. You can, in some cases, have a pretty big impact on the game based on your dialogue options. So just like smashing the same button over and over doesn't necessarily yield good results. This hotbar on the bottom, I really wish that there were numbers near it, but the way it works is that, like, you can click it with your mouse, obviously, but you can also press the 1 key for this one, the 2 key for this one, and the 3 key for this one. Now, in dialogue, the way it works is when you first select the option, it shows up as thought bubbles, and then if you're like, yes, I would like to say that, then you press the dialogue option again, and then, yeah, and then you do it again, and then the dialogue actually goes through. Am I ready to start with Dunshire Militia? Not really. I just want a free sword. And I like that this game you can kind of be evil, and it's sort of fun to do that. And one thing that I find in this game is actually kind of rare in any RPG, really, is that being evil has a purpose. It's not like, you know, in some games like Baldur's Gate, where like, oh, I feel like doing an evil run through. And then you kind of hold your nose and just pick dialogue options that make you an asshole for absolutely no reason. In this game, like, you know, I'm actually kind of tempted to do the evil thing. Okay, let's talk about targeting. So clicking, you move with your mouse. If you double click, your character gets this little arrow next to them, and they will keep on moving as long as you keep the mouse clicked and keep dragging it around. And then the one kind of quirk that I do wish had been updated is there's a treasure chest. I'd like to double click on it to open it. That is, however, not what happens if I double click on it. If I double click on it, or single click on it for that matter, I select it, and then if I move next to it, then I get the option to open it. It's a little bit weird, and the same goes for talking to people. If I want to talk to that guy, I have to click on him, and then move near him, and then when this thing becomes available, when I get close enough, then I can talk to him. So it's a little bit weird. I do wish that, you know, you could just double click on something and move to it, but otherwise I actually really like the targeting system, because one problem I have with action RPGs, which is what this is that a lot of times it's just very annoying how often you have to click on things. And it's not that I want a mindless game, but just like there's too much clicking to target and attack and everything. So in this game, you click on something, you target it, you'll start attacking it, and then you have this hotbar of abilities, which you press it, and then it'll target whatever enemy you have currently, you know, clicked on and selected as your target. So it's nice that you just click to target, and then you can move around and stay targeted on that thing, or just any ability you press will automatically target that thing, and it reduces how many, you know, inputs you have to do while still keeping the game difficult. Like, this game is actually weirdly challenging. I died on the first dungeon the first time I played. Like, I was actually not very good at first. There's definitely like a bit of a curve, but at the same time, it is a fairly short game. The dungeons are all pretty small, so it's fast paced, you progress quickly, and it's just, you know, it gives you a lot of the good stuff without having to make you feel like you're grinding for it. Okay, let's talk about the character development system, which I said earlier feels familiar yet is original. So what this game does is it has a class system. There are classes. This guy right here is a ranger, there's a paladin, a knight, a wizard, and a rogue. But you don't pick a class. Instead, you get training in class skills. But the thing is that you can get training in any skills as long as you meet the requirements. So for example, I can talk to this paladin here and learn the Divine Hammer skill. Base stats are all at 5. And as long as you have a charisma of 6 and 50 gold to spare, you can learn the Divine Hammer skill. So you don't have to be a paladin. You can be anybody. As long as you have 50 gold to spare and 6 charisma, you can learn Divine Hammer. Now, your character is limited in how many skills they can have active at one time. As you level up, eventually you can have up to 6 active skills. So that's like the limiting reagent here. You can also have up to 6 passive skills. But the system is great because it's very flexible in what you do. You can just focus on the stats that a particular class needs and only get skills in that class. So you can essentially be a paladin as long as you only get paladin skills and only level up the stats that are needed for paladin skills. And that may even be like a perfectly fine way to play. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you can be like what I'm going to be doing in this playthrough, just sort of a generalist and picking up whatever skills you can within a certain archetype. And I think that is, you know, for me a fun way to play, but it's not like the best way to play. So you have a lot of freedom and flexibility and creativity in how you level up your character. Now, an important thing to talk about here is stats. One pet peeve of mine is how RPGs will always be like, strength improves melee damage. Oh, really? I didn't know that game. But how much? What exactly does 1 point of strength do? Well, no RPG ever tells you, and they don't have a manual, so it's very annoying. However, this game, I kind of give it a pass for being very fuzzy on the details of what the stats actually do, because what they do doesn't really matter. What I mean by that is, I'm not saying that, like, 8 strength is not going to cause a noticeable uptick in how quickly you kill monsters with a melee weapon as compared to 5 strength. Like, it matters in that sense. But the value that the stats bring inherently is basically nothing when compared to the value the stats bring by allowing you to train up to certain skills. What I mean by that is, let's say we're gonna be doing a wizard mostly in this run. So, as a wizard, the main skills are intelligence and skill. So, as you travel up the tree, you start needing increasing amounts of intelligence and skill in order to be able to keep on learning the wizard's abilities. And if you end up multi-classing, like getting training from multiple different trainers, then like that opens up how many requirements you need. If you want to get like a bard skill, you need some charisma. So like the skills matter to the extent that they allow you to get training in the abilities that you want to learn. You know, the health bonus you get from a few stat points of endurance is not worth it if the points that you're putting into endurance don't let you learn a skill that you would like to learn. So that kind of makes the system, you know, it's a little bit weird, but basically you can think of your stats as gatekeepers for the abilities you'd like to learn for your character. Now, I recommend the first time playing that you actually talk to these trainers, because what they will do is they will tell you what stats they care about. See, for wizards, it's like, okay, all wizard skills are intelligence and skill based. So if you're going to be a wizard, those are the only 2 stats you have to care about. Talk to a paladin here. So for a paladin, they need, I've never played as a paladin, charisma, strength, and endurance. So you'll be leveling charisma, strength, and endurance if you play as a paladin. If you're multi-classing, obviously the more overlap there is among the stats required, the easier it is to do. And some classes also have things that require you to wield a particular weapon or not wield a particular weapon. And so in those cases, that can also limit your potential for multi-classing. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I will be playing a ranged magical character, so we're going to go ahead and talk to this wizard. We're going to see that to get Chain Lightning, which is a pretty great skill, I need 7 intelligence. So I'm going to put just 2 points in intelligence. I mean, it may be tempting to be like, oh, well, just put all 3 because, you know, wizards need intelligence. But I recommend not putting points into skills beyond what you actually, or I should stop calling them skills. I recommend not putting points into stats beyond what you need for learning skills. So now we have 7 intelligence. We can learn Chain Lightning for 50 gold. We have a decent starting cache of gold, so let's train it up. And there we go. Now we know Chain Lightning. Now the next skill is Staff Master, which requires 8 intelligence and 6 skill. Sadly, I am 2 stat points away from being able to do that, so I'm not going to spend my stat points. Every level that you gain 3 additional stat points. So when you're considering the cost or the opportunity cost of learning a particular skill, basically like every 3 stat points that you need to learn a particular ability is like 1 level up's worth of stat points, and that's how you can gauge the cost of things. Okay, now what's really cool about this game is these are not the only 5 classes. There's actually over twice as many classes as what you see here. You can actually find other classes over the course of the game, and some of them, if you actually like do the quests wrong, you just can't get those classes. Like you like mess up and you can never ever learn abilities from that class. So you have to be a little bit careful, like I said, when you do dialogue, because it can have significant repercussions. Like if you just screw it up and you really wanted to learn some witch skills, you know, then you just don't ever get to learn those witch skills. You have to start over a new game to do it. So it's nice that the game gives you like a somewhat subtle encouragement to read what's actually happening, whereas I think it's a frankly large number of RPGs, you just smash buttons and then as far as the dialogue goes, and you never have to care about what's being said. Okay, so this guy also gives us a quest. It actually ends up being a surprisingly interesting quest, considering how basic it is. I basically want to get some ore for this guy, and he'll make a fancy weapon for us. Now, the thing is that this game really could have used a quest journal. I'm shocked at the laziness of not providing a quest journal. Like, I get why in mobile games, maybe, but on the PC, there should have been, like, a keyboard button that you press, and then it opens up a quest log for what you have to do. Otherwise, you kind of just have to remember things. So let's do some shopping. So, basically, in the early game, you can do a few things to make the first few dungeons easier. One thing is that the ranger character, for just a low price of 6 skill, will teach you how to use a bow. And then you can purchase a bow from this guy, the hunting bow. And that just makes the early game a lot easier because you can shoot things and, you know, whittle them down as they come near you, rather than having to fight everything with your starting crappy garbage sword. I've actually done that, and it's totally fine because skill is needed for wizards as well, so you're not wasting a stat point. It's just 50 gold plus the cost of a bow. However, I'm not going to do that just for variety because I will be playing the whole playthrough range, so I might as well do a few levels where I'm using my sword up front. So I'm not going to do that. It's a perfectly valid choice, though. Keep in mind, however, that eventually as a wizard, if you are playing as a wizard, you'll be using a staff, and staves shoot. Staves are also mutually exclusive with bows. It's a bit tricky because this slot is where the staff goes, and this slot is where the bow goes, but they are mutually exclusive. So if you have a staff here and you equip a bow there, the bow will come in here and the staff will be taken away, and vice versa. So you cannot have both a staff and a bow equipped. Actually, when I was looking at the skills in the wiki, I was actually considering like adding some ranger skills just to have some more like, you know, ranged magically attacks, but you can't really do it if you want to wield a staff. By the way, the training is kind of interesting. Every time you learn a skill, you get access to be able to train the next skill, provided, of course, you have enough stats for it. But you cannot see what all the skills are, and that's a bit lacking. I do wish the game would just let you see what the progression of skills was, because sometimes maybe like the next skill is useless, but you would have learned it in order to get the one after it, if you'd known what the one after it was. Alright, this is a bit of a weird thing. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's here. Basically, this tells you about the witch. This person is drunk, and everyone thinks they're crazy for saying there's a witch in the woods, so you go to the woods, and you find the witch, and then this person gives you 2 gold for validating him and believing in his story, which is not a very large number of gold, but whatever. So now we know there's a witch there, and this person's a bard. So if you listen through a frankly sort of terrible, stupid song, yep, okay, cool. Yeah, that was a long one. And then you compliment him. Actually, I'm not even sure you have to compliment him or not, but if you then answer his question with anything other than complete stupidity, he will be willing to train you in bardic skills. And we are going to come back to this guy for one particular skill. However, I don't have the stats for it now, so I'm just going to leave, and we'll talk about that later. You can also talk to the tavern keeper and ask if there's any leads for work, and all she'll do is tell you just like, just go to a place and fight the stuff that's there if you want to make money. So I'm like, okay, thanks, I already do that, lady. Anyway, so that's, I think, all there is to do here. I believe we got whatever was in here. Yeah, we got the treasure chest, great. So let's click this home button, and let's do our first dungeon. How long has this video been? 13 minutes! Wow, I talk a lot, sorry. Okay, so let's do our first dungeon, and that'll be the end of our very weirdly long video. Okay, so this is kind of an open world game. You can travel, you know, wherever you like. I wish you could scroll around the map. You can't. Another little, you know, when a game has a negative quality, you know, we call it like a criticism or a drawback. When a game has a negative quality that you like, though, if you like the game, you're more inclined to think of it as like, you know, part of the game's rustic charm. And this game definitely has a lot of those that you might be willing to overlook if you enjoy it. Let's go ahead and take out this Goblin hovel. Now, like I mentioned, the dungeons in this game tend to be on the quick side, which I really appreciate. I think that's very cool that, you know, you can just hop in, play a dungeon, and move on with your life. Obviously, as you get later in the game, the dungeons do get bigger. One thing I forgot to mention that I should have really mentioned is a couple of things. So when I said one, I was lying to your face. One is that every level, every dungeon, you have 5 potions to drink, and each potion fully replenishes your health, which is kind of like a big deal. So that's a big part of it, the strategy. Like, I am going to get pretty badly damaged, and I would get completely wrecked if I didn't have these 5 full heals. I kind of like that, though, as a game mechanic. It makes it so that, like, you can get healing, and healing is valuable because it extends how much survivability you have from your potions, but at the same time, you don't have to necessarily, you know, be in a situation where, like, every single character has to worry about how they're going to heal themselves. So, just a bit about combat mechanics. I click on the monster to target it. Then any ability that I use automatically targets that monster. And then the abilities in this game are predominantly, although there are some notable exceptions, which we'll see later in the playthrough, on cooldowns. Chain Lightning deals some significant spell damage and also jumps to other enemies. And then this is just your starting kind of crappy ability. Just does some melee damage. My advice is, even though it's a full heal, so you technically get maximum value from like waiting until you're as low health as possible. It's really annoying to die and have to start the dungeon over. This game treats death pretty friendlily, but it's better, you know, not to die and lose that time. You're going to see we're going to end up using all 5 potions in this run, and it's going to be pretty close, because the other thing I want to talk about is you can buy some starting equipment to make the early levels a lot easier. The thing is, though, that it's kind of weird. Like, pretty much immediately, you get, like, a slightly better version of the items that you can buy now that stick around for a long time. Like, a long time passes before those items get improved upon. Whereas the items you can buy at the beginning of the game, they like get improved upon almost immediately. So you make the first few levels a little bit more challenging, and you really have to use your potions. In exchange for that, though, you get to save some money by not upgrading your starting equipment. Okay, now what's going to happen is, just a spoiler alert, this chest is trapped. So what I'm going to do here is try to do a little bit of combat tactics. I'm going to be kiting these bats. Oh god, I did not mean to do that. Well, actually that kind of works. So I'm going to kite them so that I can get multiple uses of my chain lightning attack. It doesn't have a super long cooldown. And notice what's nice is that I stay targeted on that bat. So I don't need to worry about like clicking back on the bat to target it. I can just run around. And each time I use Chain Lightning, it hits all 3 bats because it jumps from one enemy to another. And in this fashion, I can leave the fight without losing too much health. I could have potentially just like face tanked these bats. The bats are not super hard enemies, but just in case it ends up being a little bit embarrassing, we'll go ahead and do this the slow way, and then I'll use my starting ability to finish that off. Make sure you pick up those orbs that fall on the ground, because that's gold, and gold is good. You need gold for training. The cost of training skills increases as the level of the skills increase. So like the first skill in a particular class tree is 50 gold, and then it goes up from there by like, actually I'm not sure what the pattern is. I've never looked it up. Might be just like 25 gold, might be 50 gold. Can't remember. It's one of those things I clearly did not prepare for this video. So yeah, if I kited this guy, I could have avoided some damage here. That's fine. Quick note, this bar shows you how you're doing on your level ups. This is your health bar. And this button here, which you might have been frustrated at me for ignoring, that's all leveling up really does is it gives you 3 more, oh yeah, I forgot about that bat. It gives you 3 more stat points to spend. But remember, you don't really want to spend stat points until you are actually getting training in a skill with those stat points. I'm going to switch my target to the Goblin, because the Goblin has more health, and I know that that bat is going to die from the Chain Lightning on the Goblin, and I don't want to waste the damage. I'm actually not sure. Does the primary attack do more? I think so. Okay, I'm just going to face tank this Goblin, let him hit me once, and then drink a potion. Then we'll Chain Lightning, and one more Night Smash. I'll do it. Perfect. Oh, there's gold back here. Okay. So as you can see, this is a really challenging thing. Like, I'm using up I've already used up 3 of my 5, whoops, hold on. I've already used up 3 of my 5 potions. I will kite these guys a little bit. Let this thing refresh. There's a lot of dungeon to walk back into. In general, kiting works a lot better in this game if you have already explored the entirety of the room. If you try to kite in a room you've just entered, it's quite possible that you will find monsters further down the room that will join the party, and the object of the party is to kill you, of course. And now we can kite them all back the other way. Again, I'm not sure I need to do this. I will probably need 1 potion on the final fight, but just in case I need 2, we'll take a safe approach here. The first time I played this, it was actually comical, because I know on this channel I have the persona of, like, you know, the expert who knows how to play the game well and is telling you how to do it. But I actually didn't realize how to get training and skills, because I kept talking to the people and they kept being like, well, in order to get training with me, you need intelligence and skill. I based my stuff on dexterity and charisma. And then I'm like, okay, well, they won't train me. So I guess maybe like you have to do an introductory dungeon. So I went into this dungeon with just like my basic equipment and this 1 starting out ability, and I just ran out of potions and died because I didn't realize there was like a different dialogue option that you had to pick in order to activate the training menu. Okay, so these guys, I'm just gonna face tank them. There's an archer back here who is gonna be pelting me pretty good. I will do this, and I am actually gonna run at the archer because I really want to kill him. I'm going to take some significant damage here, so I'm going to drink a potion pretty early. And then I'm going to drink my last potion. And I need to kill the... Oh, this is a really bad strategy. Oh, God, the archer's still alive. Alright, so now I have to kite, because I'm out of potions. And 1 more hit kills me. Oh my God, this could be so embarrassing I could actually die in this video. So I ran out of potions. I was a little bit too spent through. I was like, oh, well, you know, I kited earlier. So, maybe I can just be, like, a little bit more foolhardy now. But yeah, a little bit challenging here. Those guys hit kind of hard. And I like that. Your character is strong, but, you know, the enemies are also strong. So sometimes you have to be a little bit cautious. And although your character develops pretty quickly, the challenges of the game develop fairly quickly as well. Ooh, I made a mistake. I should have actually run down that way when I had the chance. Oh, there's a little bit of a hit. So we're smashing the 2 button. As I mentioned before, these are like just in order of the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although if you find it awkward to hit 5 for the healing potion, you can also press Q, which is important because as you level up and you get more active skills, it pushes the potion back down to 7, which is kind of awkward. So having that be Q is pretty convenient. All right, wow, we needed every bit of help we could get on that one. We got a Ring of Regeneration, which is an okay item. The loot is randomly generated. We'll talk more about charms later, but for now, this one is actually decent. It restores your health over time, so it is good if you are playing a kind of kiting strategy. Now you can see that the health is pretty slow, but you know, if it's that or lose the game, then that can be a decent choice. All right, so let's go back to town. We'll go back here. And I want to see if the shop has gotten new items or not. I don't think it has. Okay, so I haven't leveled up yet. So there's no new skills to learn. I don't want to buy anything yet because the shopkeeper still hasn't gotten anything new. So we're actually going to go ahead and end the video. In the next video, we are going to go down into the woods to meet the witch and begin the process, because it is a bit of a process of getting training in witchery. And then after that, hopefully the shop will become upgraded and we can get some items and spend our first golds. Okay, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and or subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.